morning and welcome to the Real Stuff podcast. This
Morning.
This morning we are into with a topic, managing and governing an indigenous community. This morning I have with me Miss Lee as my co-host, and we have some eminent persons will be speaking on the topic. I will just ask them one by one to introduce themselves and just tell us a little about themselves. Starting on our left with Akilah.
Ekaro, good morning. I am Akilah Jaramogi from the American Maroon community here in Trinidad. I live in the forest in St. Anne's. I am the founder and managing director of a reforestation project where I have been planting trees and rehabilitating a degraded hillside for over 40 years. I work with my community, my American community, and also communities around the diaspora, working on bringing unity and creating self-awareness and empowering each other, sharing models so we can have something to pass on to the next generation. So this is what I've been doing as I continue to give thanks. Give thanks to the ancestors for guiding me and protecting me. And as I say, Uni tutu, Ona tutu, Ile tutu, tutu laroye, tutu ariku babawa. Giving thanks for this day so we can have a cool, positive discussion. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Thank you. President Douglas.
Akwaba. Yankin Po, bless all smarty pray, champon nani, home sipping better. God bless everyone here. May the Queen of Heaven look down on us. This morning, I must introduce myself. I am Colonel Marcia Douglas of Charleston Maroon Council. And of course, here we run a Maroon Council with different initiatives. So there are more than one initiatives that we work at each time as we go along, as our future is really important to us. Currently, what we are doing like the Saturday class coming out of the COVID resilience program. We're doing a Saturday class. We're doing the crowd making workshop, trainings, and other things within our community. I love to see young people move on and that their life goes in the right direction and motivate them to do the best they can. Now, that will give me the drive to actually move forward to another initiative so that our communities can develop. So these are just a few of what we do here in Charlestown. I am specialized in herbs, medicine, and if you talk about a herb, I can match your inner spirit, your soul with an herb, or your behavioral pattern with a certain kind of herb. So we talk about living the life of our foreparents. So that's a little about me.
Kasike, Kalaan. You're muted.
Usa lukali da yukuno. Nibonrix Kaiman Kasike yukayeki Yamaye wanidaka. Greetings, my relatives. Taino name Nibonrix Kaiman. You can call me Kalaan. I'm chief of the Jamaican hummingbird Taino people, member of YCOIL, the Yamaye Council of Indigenous Leaders, which includes Colonel Douglas, Colonel Lattibeaudiere, Colonel Sterling, the indigenous leaders here from the Maroon and the Taino communities. I am also a member of Consejo de Medicina Ancestral, Abiayala, the Council of Indigenous Healers of the Americas, and the person a part of the Council of Healers and Ritual Leaders that are responsible for the regions of the Gairapuri, the Condor, the Quetzal, the Águila, which is the eagle, the Warawa, which is the Caribbean. I'm the person responsible for the rituals that are done in that circle for the Caribbean region. And that, you know, sums up the community and the spaces that I am involved in.
Thank you very much. We have a very big topic this morning, managing or governing an indigenous community. And we know that the world is a serious problem with governance and management. So let's just welcome Colonel Lattibeaudiere. Good morning, Colonel Lattibeaudiere. Yes, as I was saying, you know, this topic is a very big topic, and governance is a problem everywhere. But one of the things I have been looking at and hearing is that with all the crime that is going on across the world, especially in Jamaica now, the indigenous communities seem to escape that onslaught. And for the most part, people have conceived that the indigenous communities are more or less crime-free. So we can look at that and see, you know, to my mind, it must have something to do with the governance and management of these communities, why they can live the way they do without what is happening outside. Colonel Lattibeaudiere?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Sorry to be late, but I'm here.
Not a problem. Okay.
Right, great. Good morning, family.
What has happened so far is each presenter had introduced himself. So you need to do that now, please.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I am Colonel Lattibeaudiere from the Scottsdale Maroon community, and I'm happy to be here, learn what I can, and see what I can do to help my community and the world a little better.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Our topic is, as you'll see on the screen, managing and governing an indigenous community. And I've just said that we realize that the indigenous communities are doing much better than the other communities when it comes to liberty, crime, things like that. So, you know, but generally, we want to hear from you because you're all leaders of your communities, different communities. Akilah is from Trinidad, the American Maroons, and then we have Kasike, Kalaan from the Taino, Colonel Douglas from Charlestown, and you from Scottsdale. So if we could start with Colonel Lattibeaudiere, as it is your first time on our platform.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, and thank you for having me. Yes, I could say our community is a tightly knit community. Quite a few disciplined people here. Yes, we still have some people with lack of discipline, and we have a problem with leadership over the years, development, and so on. So even though people would like to do the right thing, I think lack of development and lack of opportunities is causing some diversion. So what we're trying to do now is have some kind of a unity so we could talk about the problems. We're not getting much support from outsiders, and we don't have much to support ourselves right now. So again, I am going to stop for now and listen some more, and I will have more to say as we go.
Colonel Douglas?
Yes, so our community developed the way we developed because of our leadership. And of course, when you believe in making sure you discipline your own before you move on to others, that is one of the things that can help your community. Just, for example, just the week past, we have been having series of house breaking. You know, people have been breaking into people's houses. However, we didn't stop until we find out who it was and so on. So last night we catch up with that person, right? With those person, we held on to their cars and we took one to the police. But you have to be able to discipline and to do your own justice as a community. What I didn't respect, and I still don't respect with the justice system across Jamaica, is that they don't recognize our justice system within our indigenous community. And that may cause some, differences between what the justice of the country is and your justice within your community, because they don't respect what you do. Now, if I can catch a man and I bring him to you, and I can hold on to another piece of evidence and I say, okay, he's not moving until you come. Or if I move from here, the citizen is going to chop him fine. You should be able, as the justice, as the police personnel, take that person into custody until the case is tried. Now, when you take the person, say you're taking them to the station, and by the time you get to the station, you give them the key and send them home. That is injustice to our indigenous way, our justice of life. So I think we, as indigenous people, need to just do our justice. I'm sorry, but the government of Jamaica, the justice system of our country, is not a valid one for us. We need to do what we need to do. First time in days gone by, I know in my community, if you go to Marcia Jones' farm and you put a planting, you have to go back and plant 10 roots of planting in Marcia farm. You have to keep weeding it. You have to nurture it until it come back to Marcia liking. So when Marcia can ready, he can cut his planting, and you are not leaving Marcia farm until he's able to reap those planting, and you dare not cut another one. That was justice then, right? I remember growing up, some youths come and they took away some of my father's lumber. And what? When he find out and he catch up with them, he said, okay, I have 100 cedar tree that I'm going to plant out, and he list the amount of Spanish lime, and he list the amount of damsel. And there were a series of trees that that's our summer project, so we would have gone to plant them in the summer. And they had to plant all of those. And they had to check on them until they catch and firm enough and can be left alone. No, those are justice. Now, I'm going to tell you that you're in way of discipline as someone within your prospect right, an adult or a parent living in a community. You can't discipline a child by flogging. They are breaking the system from then. There's a lot of things going on that if we don't stand up for it in our community, then our children is going to be lost. No discipline will be in our community. And hey, our community would be what we call governless. So there will be no proper governance within our community. Let me just stop here for a while.
And Kalaan?
Yes, touching on the points that Colonel Douglas shared and Colonel Lattibeaudiere, I'll touch on those and then I'll briefly share mine. For me today as a leader, what it deals with in managing a community really has shifted because of the people that you are managing, the age group of individuals that is there, the gap between the elders and the youth. So as Colonel Lattibeaudiere was speaking towards, a lot of the issues that may come up in communities and society on a whole is where people are drifting away from their roots and awareness of who they are. There was a time gone past where everybody understood that, you know, once you live in a certain vicinity, you're related, whether it's through the land, whether it's through culture, whether it's through spirituality, or through blood. And I guess over time, a lot of those things are shifted. And that is something that indigenous communities have over some of the other communities. Some rural communities will have it too. So to me, they're still operating on these indigenous principles. But just that awareness of what it is that holds the people together, that is not just citizenship. I can apply for citizenship. It's not just about being a landholder because, you know, there are ways and means. Somebody can come and buy land, it don't mean to them is really an active part of the community. But it's through being an active part of the community thing shifts. I can speak towards experiences that I had growing up that are similar to some of the stuff Colonel Douglas was talking about. You know, if somebody was found practicing pedal larceny, then by community justice, what would have been done is that, yeah, then we have to give back. It's restorative justice. You take something, we taking from you, not going to balance it out. So you have to find a way to give back. If you're stealing from somebody's tree, then you know that you're going to have to go harvest for them, or there's some other ways and means that things would have been sorted out. And that was basically understood. We came from an age where elders were respected, and I find that the breakaway is when those gaps are there between the elders and the youths, and a clear understanding on what it is that is guiding the community, what are the morals and the values. So that brings me to the experiences that I have. Now, unlike Colonel Lattibeaudiere and Colonel Douglas, the community that I have to deal with is communities of retention that not everyone in that community identifies as indigenous, whether they have the ancestry or not. So what happens is that I will have individuals that are acknowledging the indigenous way, along with those that are in the vicinity and here that are not acknowledging the indigenous way. And thus, systems, ways, and means of management has to vary a little from what was traditionally done. So for example, one of our communities that would be in Treasure Beach, that is a fishing village. Majority of the men there would either help with making canoes, would deal with farming, would deal with fishing. So there's a common understanding. So if some young ones were not seen idle on the street side, there would be activities that they could contribute to as a part of the community so that everybody could benefit. As we are aware of, you know, things like gentrification, hoteliers coming in and purchasing property, elders that are aware of some of these traditions leaving, what I end up having to manage is zoning in on specific sites, spaces, and territories. So I guess this is the perfect segue into Sister Akilah speaking. So it's more of looking on the areas, preserving the areas that you're getting that type of support, and trying now to start from a micro level of a community and expand it to sometimes where it even reaches the diaspora, because now we have community members and sacred spaces that are being watched in Negril, in St. Elizabeth, in St. Mary, in Spanish Town, in Clarendon, Manchester, all over the island, wherever it is that there are Taino spaces. We go, we inform, we instill in them a connection to the space, and from that connection to the space and learn to live with the space, to be sustained by the space, it develops in them this stewardship. And from that stewardship and that preservation now that is passed on to the younger generations. So management deals with so many different levels. For me, is focusing on that connection between the individuals and the space. And once you've established that connection, sometimes you have to recreate it because the colonial system has created so much chaos and catacombs between us and our connection to the land that it instilled avenues for a lot of this crime and violence and these things to come in. Because there's a people that view themselves as in lack, that will use means that are not legal to satiate the desires and needs that they have. But are people who believe they're living in abundance, living off the land, off the forest, in alignment with the systems around them, are people that are at ease and at peace, and it is easier for them to see the bigger picture and work along with the rest of the community. So I don't want to go too much into that, but you know, I'll segue to Sister Akilah.
Okay, thank you, thank you. When I look at governance and I look at community, it's all about structure, you know, and models. And we have been shifted from our ancestral ways of living so much and placed into communities here in the West where we have to find ourselves. And by finding ourselves, depend on the individual. So me as an individual, I using myself as a model, finding myself to help transform a community and change patterns within a community. And because I belong to so many communities, it's like sharing myself, you know, in whatever way I can. Being born in South Trinidad and moving from South Trinidad and coming to Port of Spain, which is close to the city, 15 minutes away from downtown, away from Savannah, away from the built-up urban communities. I took what I learned from my ancestors back home in South Trinidad, living off the forest, seeing the forest as sacred, you know, creating entrepreneurial opportunity from the forest, working in harmony with nature, being a custodian of my natural environment, creating a place for the deities to dwell, you know, paying obeisance to Shango and Oya and Obatala and Onile and all the ancestors who, you know, depend on the forest and who are there for us. So by caring for the forest in South Trinidad, looking at what my ancestors came with, because they too came just the other day in 1816, they arrived in South Trinidad, coming from Africa, settled on plantations in the US, off from Canada as well, and then to South Trinidad. They lived in the forest and they created a life. And I moved away from that South Trinidad and created a family in Port of Spain here. Now I manage almost 150 acres of land where once deemed a fire climax zone. We have planted over 100,000 trees, converting that fire climax zone into a healthy agroforestry project. Now my workers just left. I employ almost 30 young people from my community. I put a mission in front of me. I put a vision in front of me. First, I said, we want to create a healthy agroforestry environment, providing sustainable livelihoods with expression of multicultural traditions based on FSCRP, which is Fonseman approach participatory model of community forestry. So by having a vision in front of me, I was then able to work with the community, creating, you know, means. So people came in with different strengths. Some of them had nothing at all to offer, you know, and over the years as they come in, that's a community partner, as they come in, I get them to love the environment, I get them to stop lighting fires, I get them to be trained as firefighters. I myself was a trained firefighter with the Trinidad and Tobago government, you know, fire services, and, you know, so on. So now they care for the river more instead of just going to the river and using it in one way. So they develop that custodial energy and respect based on the person who is driving it. My late husband and I, who started this, you know, it was hard transforming this place and changing human behavior, changing behavior of people. So that is one side. And by creating this green space, we have schools from the urban communities, they all come in here to live, from preschool to tertiary. We have consultants, we have, you know, state authority coming in here and looking at the model. So now what we have developed over the 40 years, I give credit to my ancestors, you know, for teaching me how to care for the forest. Now when I go to the wider Indigenous community, the community that I stand, you know, hand in hand with, United Maroon Indigenous Peoples, the community Maroon Women Chambers of Corporation, Then we have other indigenous groups. And then I belong to Council of Presidents of the Environment. So, you know, presidents who take care all over Trinidad for the environment, of the environment. And with that now, it's like looking for more models, but zooming into the indigenous community, one of the best models I've seen over the years is Suriname. I've been to Suriname on many occasions, and the way they structure themselves and their system being governed by the Kaiman, and then you have the Marcia, then you have the chief, the captain, the colonel, you know, and that structure, you know, looking at Okanisi and the Pamaka and the Quincy and the Samaka, you know, looking at those people, and I said, this model can be shared, right? Because sometimes we tell ourselves we have it all, but there's something good that you can take from one country or one indigenous group and another pattern from another indigenous group. Because I look at Jamaica, you know, you do so well. You was the first Maroon community that the Caribbean school books were taught out, you know. When you open the Caribbean school books, the West Indian readers and all these things, you will hear about the Jamaican Maroons. And now we're looking into the Jamaican Maroons as a model. And what are we seeing? We have some good and not so good practices. So what we want to do, take out the good and try to encourage ones to work on the not so good, so you will continue to be a model. Same way like our Americans. We came with rice, we came with Benny, we came with that farming skill, we came with our spirituality, you know? And with that, we still harness some of these qualities, but we are so integrated into our community and our system that we have lost a lot along the way. So with me now going out or looking back to go forward, I bring in, you know, information to my American community, empowering them, cheering them on, saying, yes, you know, you are doing well, you can do better, but we are doing well. And this is as far as we reach, you know, but again, holding on to values, holding on to that African spirituality, looking at good models in the Caribbean, and hope that we can make some changes as we go along. Thanks.
Thank you, thank you. What I want to do now is just have a general discussion, and you know, each of you can ask each other questions, and you know. So I don't want to start it off, because I want to get deeper into this whole thing. But one thing I'm seeing is that a word in our title here seems to be the hallmark of what all of you are saying, the word community, and that the wider society have kind of given up the community living, but you have held on to it and it's serving you well. So who wants to jump in? Colonel Lattibeaudiere? Hello? Hello?
Okay. Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, yes. Point well taken. I listen to everyone, and yes, everyone has got a point. Some of the things that I want to highlight is a vision. We have lost our way of life, so we have lost a lot of respect from the youth, and I think the elders are kind of tired of seeing nothing. Now, how do we regain their attention? This is the problem getting them to get interested that now we are going to do something. I think they're figuring that nothing is going to happen now because nothing never happens. So this is where we need resources to let them know that something can happen. Again, this is my thing. How do we do this? And where do we go for the help? We don't have much respect from the government. Like we said, if we want to apply our own justice, then we might go to jail for that. But we have a river that can produce many fishes that could feed the entire community, but yet one guy would poison the river and kill everything in it, and then nothing. So where do we go? And I'll start for now.
Yeah, thank you, Colonel. I mean, I'd share to the dialogue that I believe a part of, and everybody can share their thoughts and comments on it, but I believe a part of what makes indigenous communities and governing systems so ideal and unique is that, unlike some parliamentarian systems, if not all, it's not necessarily a popularity contest. In my community, there are rituals that have to be done for someone to become a chief. There's a level of acknowledgement for work that you've done already. So it's not like you're giving someone work to do that them don't know much about. There's this understanding of what the goals of the community is, and those who have been doing that work are the ones that are elevated to that role of leader. And leadership in general, as Flavius had mentioned before, is critical to a lot of the things that are happening. Now, let's be honest that in our communities where you have succession of leaders, sometimes the issues that the community face is where there was not good governance before, and now the ones that are present have to fix those issues. But in those scenarios, it is clear what are the issues that are there that need to be fixed. And I believe one of the resources that we have that can help us with getting these objectives accomplished is understanding, as Sister Akilah mentioned, that there's a wider diaspora, that each of us here are a part of other groups. And when we open up about the issues that we're facing and we have regular discourse, this is a part of Indigenous leadership. We have our own councils that can assist us and help give vision to some avenues that may have helped other communities in the past. We have connections to, yesterday was Maroon Day in Suriname. I know they're still having celebrations now. Gamang Mama G is over there. Yesterday was also Indigenous Peoples Day in the United States. We have community members at these spaces. So on all of these levels, we have access to avenues that can help us and support us in the issues that we're having. And I think the core of the work that we do and what separates us from other contemporary systems is the role that our spirituality plays, the role that our elders plays, the awareness of who we are. I believe that we are better off because there's a rootedness in understanding who we are. There are just certain things that those who are aware of who they are and where they're coming from will not stoop to. Certain levels of violation, that the indigenous understanding that what you will do is for 7 generations to come. If you can envision yourself and your descendants in the space that you reside, the way that you treat that space is going to be different from someone who feel like them catching, from someone who feel that at any moment a leader can come in and get them out of the space, to someone who feels no ties to that space. And I think that is why the world now is looking to these indigenous voices as people who have been here from time immemorial and have been advocates and good stewards of these spaces, is to understand how is it that we were capable of doing these things, and to try and take some of these systems and put into the contemporary systems that exist, thus to achieve the 2030 visions, just to achieve all of these issues that are coming up from climate change, to mitigate climate change, just to preserve our forests, just to preserve our rivers. You understand? So there's so many angles to look at leadership, to look at managing communities, that, I just pick out the few that resonate strongly with myself and my community.
Okay, thank you much. I want to put one question out there now. How do we get the younger ones to respect their community? I think once we get them to respect where they are, they will do better.
Somebody take that.
Okay, yes. How can we get young people to, respect? First is being able to have, mentors and models and so on that they can look up to. We can't expect the young people to do when we fail to do. We have to be the change that we want to see. We have to walk right. I am like this every day of my life. I dress like this every day, not for an occasion, not for I'm in the forest, it's anything. I sing and I pray every day. I continue to plant tree every day. I continue to show that to maintain a standard, and then I bring the children in. And we choose languages that they can understand. When I say language, not directly languages, but means that they can understand. Through dance, through music, through art, through drumming, through fun time in learning. So you choose techniques that they will, that you can throw out to them, that will pull them closer, to what you want them to be or how you want them to be. But most of all, living the example, right? That's one. Two, you have to measure where you are and where you want to go. If you want to fix anything, you have to measure. So we are here now. Where do we see ourselves? Are we growing or are we just stagnant there? Do we have creative ways to provide, when we talk sustainable livelihood practices and so on, that we can hand down to the next generation, that we want them to be better, than what we are doing here. We want them to do better, right? So, yes, we're providing jobs, right? Are these jobs what the young people want? At some point, we have to listen to them. We have to create forum for them to tell us what they want to do, how they can fit in to this trend of goodness, how they can add value to what we are doing. So sometimes I open up the floor, for young people to speak out. Right now, we are doing a bush and forest fire policy document in partnership with the University of the West Indies. Because at Fonzuma, we have been fighting fires and caring for the environment using that bottom-up approach, mobilizing community, keeping guy up to hundreds of youths, thousands of youths will come out over the years. Then we realize the shift is still not, it is happening slowly because we can't go this space. But still, with climate crisis, we still see the care for the environment is just anyhow, it's not driven by policies and so on. So we're getting the young people. So I have my daughter and other youths at the University of the West Indies to work on this policy document, and with that now, there are certain, phases in there that the young people, depends on the young people to make decisions as well, to care for the environment, to harness cultural way of life and so on, to walk gentle on the earth. But first we have to listen to them and be that example. Yeah, I'll stop there. Thanks.
I would add on to what Sister Akilah was saying, that there's a term that we use in our council called cultural currency, right? We need to build cultural currency for the youth, where we understand the value in these things. Some of them do not see it. They just hear the elders talking about these things, lamenting, them look and them say the type of lifestyle that they believe is the lifestyle that they want, and they're not seeing the elders have these type of lifestyle. Then we look and see a leader in a CEO of a company compared to a leader of an indigenous community, and they see the indigenous community leader as lacking. So why I say that cultural currency, what that means is, as Sister Akilah said, what is it that their value system is like? What is it that they want? What is it that they're looking at? Are their needs being met? Are they seeing how they can be engaged? Are they able to use the technology that is present? Because we have always been, something that I say as well, indigenous people are adaptable, and we have always used the technology that is present. When it's stones, we use stones. When it's steel, we use steel. And now is internet and social media and all of these things, right? And it's to show them how these things can be used and get that guidance from them, so to develop our communities. Whatever we're doing must be sustainable, right? And we have to show them that. As Sister Akilah said, we have to lead by examples. We have to be willing to learn new things, to adapt to the environment that we are in, to show them that, you know, this is not a dinosaur thing to be interacting with Indigenous communities. So there's advancement. You know, from here, I'll pass on to Colonel Douglas, because there's so many advancements happening in Charlestown that is engaging the youth, and appreciate when I see those things happening. In our community, there are people that are going into film work. There are people that we're supporting with working on grants. We have one of our elders that's created a bursary for individuals that want to get a master's in education from the University of Ontario. So it actually says Taino and Black, Indigenous, and Black people. So it is calling them out. And some of these things that we need to do, they're not that hard. How hard is it for us to ask for help from some of these people that will sponsor us on events and grants and other things out there to say, let's have a workshop in Scotts Hall to teach about photography, to teach about video editing, to teach about filming, to teach about stage setup, to teach about running an organization that deals with rental of equipments for events. These are things that are necessary. Every year we'll have our celebrations in our communities. Allow the young ones to be a part of that. Let them see that, all right, when I get old, I want to become a captain in the community, or I want to become a colonel in the community, because I see how them carry themselves, and I see the leadership skill that them have, and I see how them supporting the people that is there. We have to plant trees. There's work we have to do now. Plant trees that we know that some of the foods we're not going to eat from, but understand that when we point to the youth and we say, this tree is for you.
Yes.
You need to water, you need to take care. This is yours. You may not have had a tree here before, but this is yours now. And you'll see the approach that they will take on it, because now them know it's them tree. Them can't always come to you for everything, but it is their responsibility. It's something them can benefit from, it's something them can earn from. So I want to pass to Colonel Douglas to talk about some of the things that I know happening in Charleston.
Yes, Kasike. It is indeed the way of the youth for them to really understand, because yes, we can bring them, we can put templates to them. But at the end of the day, after they do the training and receive those templates, if they don't put it to use, it's still going to be at square one, as my grandmother would say. Now, in Charleston, some of the things that are really happening, we have the Saturday class initiative, where children come to classes on a Saturday. It begins at 9 a.m. in the morning and finishes at 3. They have maths, English, and IT. Also, we have a special learning class where those who don't know how to read, learn to read. I'm especially in charge of that one. And we provide for them lunch and break. We do it. Of course, we seek sponsorship. Sometimes we don't get sponsorship, so we have to dig deep in our pocket. But as it is, as we are doing it, we just want to ensure that, yes, it is happening. We have the craft making workshop where some of the people get involved in learning to make craft. So we call them the artisan. So we have been on shows like Christmas in July, where TEF have that big artisan show where different artists from all over come to showcase their arts and craft and the other things that are within that category. And so, yes, I've been on that one, and it was an experience. So people who do craft should try to get involved with something like that. It has provided another entry to the world of finance, let me put it that way. Because when you go to those places, people know about you, people know about your craft, and people want to invest in what you do and want to buy in to what you have. So that's one of the things that is happening. We have the regular celebration that happened from here to here, but only that this year we had it in different areas, every different aspect of the Indigenous leadership had their own day. So the Taino had its own day, the Gamanship have its own day. We had the conference on their own day, and the colonels on their own day. So each of the different heroes get their different highlights and different aspects. And so we show them that within leadership, there's still a part of what we call the sub-leaders. So you have leaders that have their own thing individually that they carried out each time. Currently I have some young girls that I'm teaching the beading initiatives. You know, beading says a lot. Beading is a therapy. And so I've reached to the point that I'm ordering online now, some different tools that they can use. I find out that some of the girls use it for meditation. When they finish beading and, you know, they start to talk, they start to explain things that have happened to them and where they want to be within the next couple of days or so on. So they explain stuff like that. All right. So we have the canvas therapy or the pictograph therapy. Now that the canvas therapy is when you draw on a canvas, your lifestyle. You can explain it when you finish, or it is drawn so clear enough or painted so clear that people can actually see what is actually happening to you. The pictograph now is where you use picture to define, you know, your feelings, you know, and picture to make the solution. So we have people doing those. Currently, we have the football and the cricket, which has been developed, and it's going on. We have a river park. Yes, everybody have to have fun. You can't be in a community, you can't have fun. So at the river park is where they do fun. So fun things and so on. And we have the river in itself. Currently, we work on projects where we send out different projects that we are expecting, you know, answer to. Like, for example, we sent a project to Minister of Culture. I spoke with them yesterday, got good respond, you know, and waiting for it to happen. We have the Back to School and Voucher Initiative, which is coming also through the Minister of Culture. So they have highlighted me to say, well, they will just tell me when it is in their account. So, you know, you put out the different way, you go out there and make sure you have things going on. We have currently the IAF program that is happening, project. Now, through the IAF project is where the craft making workshop had started. We had the reparation of our kitchen. So if you go in our kitchen now, it's a much smoother, nicer kitchen. The kitchen at the River Park is another unique kitchen. You would expect to have that kind of a kitchen down here. We have the development of the restroom in the River Park area too as well. The craft making workshop, as it is not yet finished, but it's actually in the development stages. So there are a lot of things that they have been doing. Through IAF, we should receive some equipment, some other tools that are necessary for those areas. And of course, we did a series of training. Now, training is vitally important. Why? A little piece of paper says a lot. I have a paper and it marks certified by TPDCO. You know what that means? I can do just about anything within the tourism aspect as long as I'm certified by TPDCO. So therefore, they certified me as a certified tour guide, right? I can work all across Jamaica using that. And when we were doing this, I didn't stop that training at people from within the council. I ensure I go out to the community and I get the young people and I said, listen, you need to do this. So we did a TPDCO training on tourism. We did one on the marketing and development. We did one on management, of course. We also did the Team Jamaica training. Those are a few of the training that went on. So people that help us with training, we have TPD who had done all those, what I would say, paperworks. You know, the training to know how to manage your community, manage your money, manage your business, the paperworks. So we did that kind of training. We did the training to discuss and to relate to other people so that we are not in embarrassment. And then that the other indigenous race can say to us that we have let them down. So we did that kind of a training too as well. Being a tour guide, it helps you, it helps the community, and it also helps people that you meet from day to day out in the street. With UNESCO, we had done a craft making workshop. No, that one had making of bags. Now we make bags from calabash. Whatever you have, you get to make bags. So that was a very enlightened training that we have done through, and that is something we want to continue because I sent in a proposal to TEF. No, I didn't want to tell Colonel Lattibeaudiere until I get a response back from TEF. Take that same training to Scottsall town and to help the people within that area develop, whereas they can make to sustain them. They don't have to be selling them inside their community because sometimes you make it and there's not enough buyer or within your sector so you can make an income. But if you make them and you go to Ochi market, you distribute to the brand Jamaica, you distribute to different people that will sell those things, the craft area in the country or the hotels, money from those things. But I'm still working on that expand from TEF. So I'm this, I love to see development. And for Charles, I think we have so much things working on. If I show you tomorrow morning, I'll be still here telling you we are working on. But one of our important part is to it that our youth stay in school and stay in school. So that is initiative that we are working on right now. Thank you.
Yes, I should also say thanks to that. We are also close to the Kasike Garden, so that would be a good spot to have a place that we can sell the items. Place to sell stuff. It's just start making is really the problem.
Okay, one of the hallmarks of governance and managing of a community is planning. Can each of you say a few words as we are almost out of time on what type of planning takes place to keep your community ticking over? Anybody can start.
So in Charlestown, what type of planning we first we get together as a council, as a body. You know, decision doesn't make by one person. Because yes, I can decide that tomorrow morning we're going to do some training, but then another member of the council can see that, well, tomorrow morning actually is too early. Let's give them 2 days. So we start about, we discuss within a council, we survey, and then we outline as a community. Now you discuss it with a council, the different, I go online and I see opening for proposal. I discuss the proposal with the council and survey it. Soon as we write up that proposal and we send it to the respective area, I then discussed it with my workers, because whatever project it is, they're gonna be the one who have to do it. And we have to talk about who will manage and what will manage and where it is going to go. And so your discussion must always begin with a group. Your planning should structure your people, your surrounding, and what it will bring to the table. Of course, not only that, it's also having what you are going to take off the table so people can use to make themselves better. And where are you going to go next? Those are some of the initiatives that you look to around planning.
Hi. Yes.
Go ahead, Sister Keith.
Yes. Yeah, Frontman Community Reforestation Project, what we continue to work on is our strategic plan, and having a strategic plan before us, like we plan the 5 years and so on, short, medium, and long-term goals, and we tick off, as we go along. So it's like measuring, again, I always say we have to know where we are, where we want to see ourselves in the next year or 2 years, or we want to see the community, or what we can offer, to members of our community and so on. So we are managed by a board of directors, and we have a strategic plan that guides us into, for what we want to do. So similar to Sister, Colonel Douglas, we do ecotourism, we have organic nursery, we are trained here under CPO, member of CPO Caribbean Tourism Organization, we certified in different aspects of tourism. We trained in fire prevention, we trained in, we have a clean tree organic nursery, and also we manage our trails going up in the forest and things like that. So when we do, a lot of our income really was affected because of COVID, because we had that kind of tours that we used to have, in the past. But just before the show started, I was already, booking some folks for a tour coming up soon where they want food and they want this and they want to plant trees. So it's not just a tour about coming to the environment, but that green responsibility, reducing your carbon footprint, looking at climate change and everything you do, it's all about the environment. When we talk about the young people, we talk about succession planning, post Akilah, so grooming them to be, the ones in charge. And for South Trinidad, we continue to have the school children, we go out in the schools and preach the word, about Indigenous lifestyle and the tourism and food security and craft and these things, we expose it to them. Not in a way like our kindergarten say, we have the courses going on in each community, but we go through the schools and we, in different communities, we talk to the leaders and so on. Then when we talk about the wider Caribbean, just recently in Dominica, we created a declaration, for the United Maroon and Indigenous peoples. And I would just share like 5 of them where we declare to end an end to racial discrimination and injustice against our African Indigenous Maroon peoples globally in all forms and manifestation. Article 2 states, we declare that African Indigenous Maroon people globally be compensated through reparation, financially, socially, and otherwise for the crimes committed against our ancestors. So sometimes when we talk about, not having enough resources and have to knock on doors that are closing in front of us, this is a right. We have the right. And this is where we are talking about the International Decade for People of African Descent and attending a permanent forum for people of African descent in December, where we can start talking about reparation, where we can bring millions of dollars to the Caribbean here, millions of dollars to our Maroon communities, So this is one way that we are looking forward to, to the rights, what we are entitled to, And then Article 3 states, we declare that our African Indigenous Maroon communities, both children and adults, be taught an African language. We have so much Yoruba, Swahili, Fulani, Bemba, Zulu, Mande, Akan, Igbo, Hausa, and we are being, this is our wealth, and we need to get that back, right? We declare that the rights of all African Indigenous Maroon communities be self-determined by communities to self-determination be respected. And the fifth one, we declare the right to land for farming and to practice our rituals the way our ancestors used to. And we had like about 20, articles in this declaration. And recently I went to Florida and I signed a memorandum of understanding with the Florida National Park Services, connecting our American people with the history, of our first people, of our Americans in Tallahassee, Florida, around that Negro Fort area where our ancestors were killed. And in this memorandum of understanding, it states where we're going to do exchange, have our young people get scholarships and so on, so this is in the making, and we have to manifest it and make sure we bring resources to our communities to, for sustainable, lifestyle and cultural practices as we go along, but mainly to provide, a better, future for our young people. Asha.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Blessings, yeah. As it relates to planning, as was shared before, is really about taking account of where you are, where you want to go, what will be required. It really takes a lot of work in foresight, and that is where leadership takes place. The leader really has to chart the course, not just navigate it, but chart the course on where it is that they're going, and then working with the council. I guess the only difference that I said for indigenous communities is that there's a little of spiritual insight that is a part of it. So in our council, whatever decisions we're making, whatever it is that we have to do, we carry to the ancestors, we do our rituals, we find out if we have blessings to do this now. It doesn't mean that it won't ever happen, but we want to know if now is the right time to do this, if everything is in alignment, so that we can move forward. And if we get the blessings, we move forward. And we tend to find that things work out quite seamlessly. So we're able to accomplish a lot more than some other organizations or groups. So summarizing, it's really about taking an assessment of where you are, where it is that you want to go, being mindful of the resources that you have available, the leadership, which would be the council, the colonel, president, CEO, chief, whoever it may be. But them and them council really sitting down, having open dialogue, getting ancestral guidance and the decisions that they have to make for the community, and to get the community input as well. It's not just to tell them after the decisions are made, but tell them the direction that the community is heading, so that there can be full support from everyone that is there. There can be understanding and transparency, because that goes a very long way. The benefit that some of our communities will have in comparison to governments is that we have the ability to be adaptable and to move swiftly because of our numbers. If we make a decision and we realize that things need to shift, we're able to can swerve and shift a bit faster than larger populated groupings. So we use that to our advantage. So that is my share.
Okay, thanks everyone. Yes, I'm here. Okay, yes, we do have a gathering. We have a meeting like every last Thursday of the month. So we do talk a lot. The thing is now we need a place to start. We opened a new trail the other day, which we almost completed, and that is going well. So far, though, we have a problem with where do we gather. As for Charlestown, Colonel Douglas is doing well, because actually she had a platform to build on. We doesn't have that, so we have to, like, first things first, we have a place that we could do the gathering, but there is no building there. So as far as workshop, we talk about having a workshop. People want to come in to help us with the workshop, but the place to have it is a struggle. So again, where we need support is at grassroots, but there's lots of room to grow. We have a lot of spring. We talk about the water system. We could do some bottling here. We could do trucking of water to the bottling company, but the resources is really our problem. So now what I need is to know where we can get help to get the thing going. Once we get going, I think we can move on.
Yeah, but if you knew Charlestown some years ago, it was a very small place compared to what is there now. And what they do is build.
Yes, I agree. I agree with
So
that.
you have to start there, build the first building.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes, yes.
I was just
yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can get help because Charlestown is always building.
Exactly. It's
And
the help I'm looking for now. We have the place to start. We're ready to start.
No, but the people who are building are the community. They're the ones doing the building. So you need to probably look at that model, speak to Colonel Douglas and, and
Yeah,
our CEO, Mr. Rose,
Yes.
Captain Rose.
Yes, I agree. But what happened is that in my community, I get a lot of volunteers. But the volunteers is like the same people volunteer all the time, and then they get tired of,
Yeah,
just volunteering.
that's how it usually is.
right. So I'm helping you to help the volunteers.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Yes.
Some of what we do, we start gathering first. When Charleston did not have a sap yard, we start gathering on the guinea trees, mango tree in the backyard of my and my father's veranda. Those were the places that we start gathering until we wrote to Chase Fund. When we wrote to Chase Fund, we get that first money. But before it was approved, my father and Colonel Franklin then dig in pocket and bought some of the materials and start building. By the time the bank approved the money, they were off the way there. And then they used that money to go up to a certain distance. All right, Chase come and they have the closeout ceremony. We applied to different places such as UNESCO. You understand, the European Union. You right, you apply to different places. Right now, Chase Fund is willing and ready to give funding to people who have anything pertaining to development. So you can write them.
Thanks, sister, for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that.
Sports and culture, yes.
Because looking at a model that stands for transparency and accountability and structure. So as long as you can put that together, following Colonel Douglas model, there must be transparency and accountability, because when you go out there looking for funding, you have to, show exactly what you're doing with your funds. Another thing I look at is, besides looking at the model, for us, we are part of this NICA, the regional program, Natural Infrastructure for Caribbean Resilience, funded by the U.S. Department of Forest. And in this proposal that we are doing now, this project, we are doing a bush and forest fire policy. On Thursday, we have the first consultation with the community groups. But we are not just asking for ourselves. What we are asking for, we are giving some of these groups toolkits to prepare themselves for the dry season, which contains like fire beater and backpack pump and so on, so they can build resilience in their community for those who cannot write proposals and things like that yet. And then from there, get people to work with the other communities and help them to grow. So there are different models that we can help each other too. It's about helping and sharing as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all, as we have to close off now. But before we close off, firstly, I want to thank you very much for coming and for such a wonderful, wonderful discussion. A couple things I need to say before we go. Our platform, Indigenous Outlook, belongs to you. This was created by the Reads of Podcasts to showcase Indigenous, everything Indigenous from everywhere. So if you need to, it is your platform, you just need to tell us, you're doing something, you want us to showcase something, you want a discussion, we are right here. So at least one day, at least one Tuesday every month, every week, we have our Indigenous show. So it is your thing. The next thing I must say is that the Real Stuff podcast is here to help and support you. You know, so you can reach out to us at any time. Colonel Lattibeaudiere, you can reach out. You know, we have some experience in what you're doing, and we can help if you need help.
Oh yes, I surely will, because I do need help.
Well,
Especially in certain areas, seeking other helps and other groups that will help, because we have our platform is set up, our structure is set up well. Everything is like you say, people can understand what we're doing and see what we're doing. So it's just a matter of get going.
and I personally have been working with the Charleston Maroons. How long now, Kim? Over 15 years?
Yes, sir, Flavius.
So we have some understanding of what's need to be done and what can be done. And I think you should reach out to them directly yourself also.
Okay, I sure will.
And of course, we're going to ask you to come back for a part 2 and probably a part 3. We'll put it together and then we'll put the invite out. Next time, you probably can bring one person with you, so we can expand the whole discussion some more. So thank you very much. And we're going to say goodbye from the Real Stuff podcast.
Thank you, Medasi.
Adios.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome.
Bye, guys.
Very welcome.
You lead us so full. You belong far away away. Ajugwala lebo buseru. Lida mua, lida sungfula. Lida mua, lida sungfula.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer so rough. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me do what set me a pick a flee. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi hide like a thief in the night. Me I fi get out of sight. Me I fi take away myself. I fi take away myself. I have to utilize I will.